Okay, hello. We are conducting a post-conference based on the lesson plan that you taught on my observation. So, how do you feel about the lesson?
I feel that it's been very productive because it's been helping my kids. It helps my kids know how to actually write the Spanish language and not only just say it or not only understand it, but they get the practice that they need so they can actually spell, and not only words but spell phrases, questions, responses, and then from there just go ahead and create paragraphs, like short paragraphs. So I think it's very effective.
So, from the whole lesson that you conducted, what do you think, if you can pick one item from the whole lesson, what do you think it went well?
That went well. I think that their skills, they had very good writing skills, and I think that they were producing very well in regards to the actual vocabulary. That's what I think it went well. Like they have their spelling, good spelling when they were when they were doing it. So I believe that they've been studying because they were doing that. I consider that to be the best part, which is exciting because that tells me that they're actually learning how to write it.
So, if you actually do the lesson different to the same class, what would you do different?
I think that I would try to get the time to do it in many different ways, like not only whiteboard practice, but maybe create a certain game where they have to write the same vocabulary but in paper instead, make competition between them and have them share information, just like a game board, like a board game or something like same way, but more like talking to each other and look at their papers and help each other when they're writing it, and then be able to correct it later. Yeah.
I noticed that you use the whiteboards as one of your main strategies for your lesson. Why did you choose that strategy, using whiteboards?
Because if I use the whiteboards, I'm not only seeing what they're producing, but at the same time, I'm informally assessing them. I'm getting information that is helping me see how much they know and how much they don't know right at the spot. So if I had, I didn't do the chart, but I've done the chart in the past where I have all the students' names on the chart and I just tallied them. Okay, this is getting, this guy is not getting it, this boy is, etc. And that gives me a result.
So I noticed that was the first time that you were using that strategy, and the students were very excited.
Too much.
Do you be too much, right? Did you believe that they actually responded to you the way that you wanted it, or do you think that maybe with more practice they will get better? So what do you think about?
I definitely believe that they will get better with time. It was because the first time, for some reason with me, I've seen it, and some instructors have done it the first time and it goes great, but I guess it's just me. So I think that was the most challenging part, having them to just calm down, especially that class, because of course all my classes are different, and because I've done it with other classes and it's gone better, but with this class in particular, it's very hard because they're very jumpy. And I strongly believe, yes, that if I do it more often, then they're going to learn how to calm down. It was too much for them. It was too much excitement for them. Too much
excitement for them. So based on the class that you have, because it seems that you really, really know your students, did you feel satisfied with what happened, or do you feel that you will totally do it next time?
I think that I'm going to do it next time the same way and the exact way and the same way I did it and with the same class. However, I'm just going to have to manage the class differently in regards to classroom management, because even though they were very jumpy and even though I think I managed the class okay, to me it's not 100%. I've gotten better results from other classes where they're just writing and showing me and they're doing what they're supposed to do. So I think I would target it as, like I said, instead of having that chart to just tally, it's not only having that chart where I tally them, this boy is getting it, this girl is getting it, this guy's not getting it, this girl is not getting it. I would have another chart where I would have to be taking off points as soon as I see that something's happening to be able to control them a little bit better, and not only gaining or losing points because of what they're writing, but because of their behavior.
So you're actually talking about the engagement part of the lesson.
Yes,
they have to be 100%.
Yes.
So if you are trying to
more classroom management.
Yeah. So, for example, you're gonna try to improve classroom management. How may you do that? I've been told that sometimes less is more.
Mhm.
So if you had to target one area about your classroom management that you would like to improve within that class, because you mentioned every class is different,
Mhm.
what would you target with that specific
With that class, because they're loud, they're just jumpy and loud, they're not kids that misbehave. They're not kids that are defiant. They're not kids that are disrespectful. They're kids that are just jumpy and loud and noisy and happy. So they're not, bad kids.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't think there's any bad kid anyway, but they're not those kind of kids that you would have to actually, give them a referral, detention, get them out of the class, except for that one girl, and just because she was too much. But I think that's what I would do. I would target their behavior, because as soon as they see me taking off points, that's when their action change. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't think I would have to go farther than that. Maybe ask them to go to another classroom and sit down there for 5 minutes. But then what we want is to always have the kids in the lesson, right? We don't want them to lose instruction. So I would have to bring them back 5 minutes, 10 minutes after that. And
Yeah.
for this class, I would definitely do it, because they're good kids. And they were engaged. Because to me, there's a difference about being engaged and being misbehaving. The kids were jumpy, they were misbehaving as, little kids as they were, but they were still delivering what I
Mhm.
wanted them to deliver. So it's very hard when you see that, hey, but I'm doing it. I'm just jumpy, but I'm doing it. It's like, I just need to control that. That's what I need to control, right? Because I'm getting what I want.
Yes.
It's just that way of, they do it.
reacting.
Yes, the way. And so I don't want them to lose instruction, because they're getting it.
So obviously, it's obvious that you care about your students. So thinking about their learning climate, so you do want every student to be included. How do you think, to what extent do you think that it's important for you that your students know that you really want them here? So they can actually deliver for you. Which is the emotional
it's
aspect.
extremely important that they
Mhm.
know. They need to see it in me. And I know that they're not dumb. Like, they can see when a teacher wants them present and when a teacher doesn't want them present. And I've been trying to use, this low talk with them. I haven't really taken any training on PBIS or anything, but I've been trying to be more positive with them. And it has worked.
Okay.
To the point when
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah, I noticed that you were providing a lot of feedback
okay, Ms.
and positive
Rodriguez.
reinforcement.
Like, they even feel bad for you.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, I've been so mean to Ms. Rodriguez. So they change their ways.
Yeah.
And so, and it works. And I hope I get to training for it. I hope I get more training and have the time for it. But it's
But I
been
honestly,
working.
yes, but
It's
I
been
honestly,
working.
I honestly think that you have an insight. Like you cannot get
It
trained.
comes out.
Yeah, it comes out. You cannot really get trained caring on your students.
Mhm.
It has to be something that you like they know when you're lying. So
Yes.
the fact that you do care is transmitted to them, and then I'm pretty sure that they're gonna start delivering more and more and more because they want to impress you. They look up to you. And I can see it when I was observing in your class. So thinking about the learning intentions and the success criteria of your lesson. I noticed that you have the objectives posts on the board, so that's really good. Do the students know what those objectives mean, or do you explain to them? Do they know how to be successful in the lesson?
Well, I really don't. I target the objectives, but I don't target them as much. I usually post it. They know that that's coming today.
Mhm.
Like, I don't go to the board and say it to my students, which I think is very bad, because they should know what to expect for that
Yeah.
day. But sometimes I don't have time, especially
Mhm.
because these classes are so short, and I have to like whiteboard practice that takes so long. Not only for the kids to get the markers, to get the whiteboards, and I get help, and
Yeah.
it still takes a long time. It feels like I'm very short of time every time I have to teach my classes. And sometimes, because I'm always like, as soon as I walk in, I'm gonna have someone pass this and pass that, and do this and do that. That's why I forget that I have to read the objective to them.
So
But they, some of them would look at the board and see, oh, that's what we're doing today. You know what I mean?
so kind of like
because they
yeah,
know
their
They know.
personality.
Uh-huh.
So when it comes for them, like for example, in your activity, it was with the whiteboard practice. Do you feel that they knew how to be successful, or they were just actually just kind of like going with the flow during the lesson? What is your perception about what happened?
I think I saw that they knew how to be successful because they were getting this wonderful facial expressions when I was telling them you got it right, and that when they were looking at it and
Yes.
saying, I got
got
the
it right."
question mark on the front of the
I
question.
really like the point. Yeah, I really like
They
the
were
point about
like,
the girl.
"Wow."
Yeah, the girl on that's table 4. Then she actually put the question mark like both of them at the same direction, and did you correct it on the spot? I thought it was
Yes.
really effective because she automatically corrected and she didn't commit the same mistake again. So I think that was
Yes.
very powerful from you.
To me, because I teach this language, I respect it to the extreme.
Yes.
To me, they put a question mark the wrong way, and it's the entire phrase is wrong, and they know that.
But you were very subtle about fixing the problem,
Yes,
and I really like that.
I don't make it a big deal.
Yes.
You never make it a big deal because you don't want to offend the student. You want to make the student feel that they tried.
And
it's
that's
like,
what I'm
wow, you
and that's-
tried, you know?
yes,
and
that's
they're
what
like,
I'm-
okay.
And that is
You're
what I'm
wrong, though.
talking about. When you behave like that towards the students, like you are showing respect, they know that you care. And then you are going to get it back. And I think that's very powerful from your teaching style, that you actually show them. You know how to tell them, I do care about you, because your actions
Yeah, you don't-
are speaking
yes.
louder than your words.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
that's
you-
very powerful. In relationship to the learning, and I know that you have IB in your class, which is AB rotation, you have like 300 students. How do you actually are measuring the progress of the lesson? Like every student, you should be aware of every student progress, like learning the language. And I know that you have a big challenge with the IB program. So how are you managing to actually measure the progress of students when they're learning a second language?
Well, since it was the first time, if you're talking about this lesson in particular,
Or the class in general,
general?
or yes, or the
Okay.
progress, the scaffolding of the language.
I measure their success by teaching first through comprehension. Then I move on into reading. So once they understand the language, they speak it, right? And then they move on into reading. And then once they're reading it, I teach them how to write it. So I measure it as a step. I
Okay.
have a sequence of instruction, they call it, right? So my sequence is you first understand me, then you speak it, then you read it, and guess what? You're ready to write it. And by the time they're ready to write it, they're like, oh, piece of cake. That's why that we're doing such a good job, because they know what the word means, they know how to read it, they know how to put it together with something else. So they're just like, we just have to write it now, and we're done. Like they feel like that. I try to not throw a lot to them, because then I throw a lot to them and they just see too much and they're like, and then they don't know how to say it, they don't know how to understand it, they don't know how to write it, they don't know how to read it, because it's so, like, we have to do all this at the same time, and they get very frustrated. And for me, like I always tell them, to me, it's better if you learn through, and if you deliver, you know, quality and not quantity. I don't want you to just give me a bunch of words that you're going to write wrong, or they're going to say wrong, or they're going to read wrong. I want you to give me, even if you're able to give me a short conversation in Spanish, but that short conversation, you know, of, you know, 8, I speak, you speak, I speak, you speak, you know, 8 times, or, you know, 10 times throughout an entire unit. You write it correctly, you say it correctly, you read it correctly, and most importantly, you understand it. To me, that's what I want.
Okay.
But you're not gonna miss anything. You're gonna be able to sit down and you're gonna give me what I want.
Yes.
Exactly how I thought it, with all the accents and all the symbols and everything that I want. To me, that's that's not quantity, it's
That's
quality.
quality.
And that's how they see it. They see it as, okay, that's all I have to do. And even though they say at the beginning of the school year, that's what I have to do, by the end of the first unit, they're like, that was a lot of work. And it was just a short conversation. So imagine how hard it is for them when they have to do way more than that and they don't understand half of it.
Yes.
So to me, it's like, yeah, see, it wasn't as simple as it sounds, right? Because it's another language. It's not just a joke. And when you're given all these words and and I teach you all these words and you understand them and you read them and you write them and everything, then you have to put them together. So that's another one. And for them to be able to do that, it's like a puzzle, and they go, wow, but we're doing it. It's like by the end, it was hard, Ms. Rodriguez, even though it was just like 15, 25 words or phrases. It was hard, but we did it. And I tell them, yeah. So at the beginning of the school year, or the beginning of the unit, they think it's not, but it is hard.
Yeah.
And that's how I measure it. I measure it day by day, and I have a sequence of instruction.
That's really good. So, as your instructional leader, how can I help you in your daily teaching, instruction, curriculum, assessment, can be classroom management? If you had to target one area that you would like to work on, what would that area be? For me to assist you and guide you and help you and find you resources or whatever it takes for you to kind of like feel that I'm actually helping you in that area.
I think just find ways on how not force. I shouldn't use force or make or but find ways of figuring out how to control them in regards to classroom management. And but by saying control them, I'm saying there's a lot that you can do in classroom management, and it's still not going to work in some kids.
Okay, so.
It doesn't work. So if sometimes PBIS won't work.
So
Sometimes,
maybe another
you know,
program such as conscious
taking off
discipline
points
or-
won't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? There's some kids that just won't make it happen. You call the parent, that's the last resource. Guess what? It didn't work
It didn't
because the
work.
kid don't care about the parent, and they talk back to their parent and they say, I'm going to do whatever. And I had that today happen in my class. Guess what? This kid didn't work by calling the parent. I had to use, I used PBAs without even knowing it. I tried to just be nice to her and like, hey, girl, just do it for me, right? And she was like, all right, Ms. Rodriguez, because, if you call my parent, you can just say hi to him from me. She responded that to
Yeah.
me. So I was like, okay, so that's like the extreme. No, detention doesn't work because I've given her detention, I've given her this. And, okay, then I'm just going to try to just do it me and her. And that's it. It's just me and you, girl. So let's make it happen. And she delivered something for me. That's how you would help me. I think that's how you could help me by finding
Ways,
different
classroom
ways,
management.
because
Okay.
it's not just PBIS.
So
it's more than that.
We're gonna focus on the classroom management piece. Now, there's different approach that we can work together. I can either, we can find ways together and me helping you and assisting you how to implement those ways, or I can find ways and give you those ways and you can try it. So what will be the most, or you finding the ways on your own and me just coming and observe if they work or they don't work. So it depends on your personality and how do you feel more comfortable working with me. So if that's a choice, what would you what would be your choice? Like you finding, working together, or me giving you?
I think that I would like to work together with
Okay.
you and trying to find ways. I could try some of my own and keep figuring it out which one works with who, because like I said, every student is different, and which one works with who, and then I can share with you. And instead of saying working together with
Together.
you, finding out some of
Okay,
those.
so we're gonna set up a plan of action when we actually gonna meet in a weekly basis, and we are gonna work together finding those ways.
Okay.
And then after you are comfortable with saying like, yes, I wanna try this, because there's a lot of research, but as you say, not everything works with everyone. It's like parenting. So we just have to find the ways we can find one common ground that we can tackle the most students, and then we're gonna be able to point out the individual cases. And then after we set up that plan of action, then I can come up with whatever you want me to. I can come and observe and see what is working, what is not working, and what it needs to be tweaked, modified, and then we're gonna move on from there.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for all the amazing answers that you gave me.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. Let's go.